Part of the reason that Bitcoin is attractive to people is because we all have the sense right now, and that's certainly part of the reason why so many of you are here tonight, is that there's a little bit too much tyranny going on. And that's the collusion of large-scale enterprises at the top. And so there are attempts to push back on that by developing decentralized systems. And the idea that we could develop a decentralized standard of universal value, which is what money is very interesting idea. I've done what I could to think through the Bitcoin proposition, and it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Hey guys, welcome back to Library of Wealth. Today we have Jordan Peterson giving us his take on Bitcoin in 2023, as well as the potential economic risk of decentralization. While acknowledging the issues with fiat currency, Peterson warns that a radical change to the monetary system, such as Bitcoin, may have unforeseen negative consequences. He questions whether a decentralized economic system would be an okay thing, as it could mean putting the financial ecosystem outside the political domain and being no longer subordinate to the collective will of the people. As a longtime crypto and Bitcoin advocate, Peterson ultimately believes that falling fiat currencies will function as a trigger to drive Bitcoin higher. Let's get right to the interview with Jordan Peterson as he discusses what's next for Bitcoin and what we can expect in the financial market in 2023. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content we do here. Let's get right into the video.
I like the idea of decentralized, I wouldn't say power, because again, I think that's the wrong way of construing the situation, because as soon as you think about decentralized power, then you've fallen into the clutches of those who think that power is the fundamental motivation. I really do think it's an unbelievably pathological presupposition, because what it presupposes is that, well, if everyone had their own choice, what they would choose is to compel others to do their will. And I don't believe that's true. I mean, I think it's true under some circumstances, but as I said before, I think that's only true when things degenerate. Because I don't think that we find our highest meaning in the compulsion of others to do our will. And I don't believe that we can find the meaning that sustains us in life by forcing others to grant our short-term wishes. I think that's an extraordinarily counterproductive way to live. And I think that the fact that psychopaths fail is evidence for that, right? Psychopaths are people who have the proclivity to use instrumental compulsion on others. For a psychopath, you're the source of whatever gratification can be extracted in the short term. And that looks like it's a more effective evolutionary strategy than laying at home semi-conscious in your bed, but it's certainly not effective enough so that it's the dominant human strategy, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's not even the dominant chimpanzee strategy. And so it isn't the distribution of power that's the advantage to decentralization. It's the distribution of destiny and responsibility. Part of the reason that Bitcoin is attractive to people is because we all have the sense right now, and that's certainly part of the reason why so many of you are here tonight, is that there's a little bit too much tyranny going on. And that's the collusion of large-scale enterprises at the top. And so there are attempts to push back on that by developing decentralized systems. And the idea that we could develop a decentralized standard of universal value, which is what money is very interesting idea. I've done what I could to think through the Bitcoin proposition, and it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it's right. You know, I went to a Bitcoin conference a while back, and it was full of Bitcoin enthusiasts, and of course all they wanted to hear was enthusiastic things about Bitcoin, and fair enough, you know, because it's not like I'm a great fan of the fiat currency that allows governments to print money and inflate away value, because that punishes people who are sensible and who make the proper sacrifices. It's inflationary, as you're all seeing right now. It's a very bad idea. And to give the centralizers that power, I think it's not a good idea. Now, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin is the right solution. And part of the problem with introducing a radical solution like Bitcoin, and it's radical because it would change the way we undertake all our trade, is that it probably won't do just the things you think it will do. right? Because when you change a system that is so complex you don't understand it, like when you disrupt the supply chain to hypothetically control COVID, all sorts of things happen that you don't expect, which is what conservatives always remind liberals. It's like, don't be thinking that your revolutionary change is only going to bring about the positive things that you envision, because you don't know what you're mucking about with. And so we could, in principle, and this seems to be what's happening, is allow a variety of currencies to battle with one another on the competitive landscape. And we sort of have that internationally because every currency has to trade against every other currency. And now we've added cryptocurrency to that mix. And that seems to me to be a good experimental option. And maybe Bitcoin will aggregate to itself the value that its adherents claim. But that remains to be seen, and it doesn't mean it's a pathway without pitfalls.
Peterson thinks it's counterproductive to focus on controlling others, and that people who use force to get what they want usually fail in the long run. Instead, he believes that the advantage of decentralization is not just spreading power around, but it's also spreading out the responsibility and control. Peterson applies this idea to Bitcoin, a decentralized system that challenges big companies and governments.
Imagine Bitcoin was successful and all of a sudden we never had any control over, we really never were able to exercise control over our monetary system again. Because that's what it would mean. Because it really is decentralized. And if Bitcoin and the blockchain technology truly obtained the upper hand, we would have put our economic system outside of the political domain. Now, you can make a case that maybe that would be an okay thing, right? Because you don't want the standard of value subordinate to political machination. But it also means that it's no longer subordinate to the collective will, the collective express will of the people as manifested in the electoral process. And we don't know if that would be a good thing. And it's a hell of an experiment to run because you won't know the outcome until you can't alter the results of the experiment. So, I have some investment in Bitcoin because I'm curious about it, and it's a compelling idea. It's a genius idea, but that doesn't mean that it's destined for success. So I'm pro-decentralization. I like the idea that mendacious, short-term oriented, narcissistic, power-mad politicians can't inflate the currency and steal value from people to fund their idiot pet projects. But, revolutionary changes usually bring about radically unintended consequences. So, and I think that's why the marketplace is still toying with Bitcoin, instead of rushing headlong into its embrace, let's say. So that's what I think about Bitcoin.
While Jordan Peterson believes Bitcoin is an intriguing experiment, he remains cautious about its true worth. In light of his overarching beliefs on power and decentralization, Peterson emphasizes the need to be mindful of the potential consequences of such dramatic shifts. In his opinion, decentralization holds great potential in terms of distributing responsibility and enabling people to take charge of their own futures, but he warns of the need to proceed with caution. Peterson's thought-provoking insights on Bitcoin and decentralization offer a valuable perspective on the importance of balancing innovation with thoughtful consideration of its implications on the monetary system. What do you think about Jordan Peterson's interview on Bitcoin and his economic outlook for 2023? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.